Hello and welcome. You're watching India Today. I'm Akshata Nandagopal, and over the next half hour, we're putting the focus on India's moon mission on Chandrayaan-3. Carrying a billion dreams, India has shot for the moon. ISRO launched its third lunar mission, Chandrayaan-3, which took off from Sriharikota at 2:35 p.m. on Friday afternoon. Carrying a lander and a rover, in the next 40 days, it will touch down at the south pole of the moon.
3, 2, 1, 0.
India shoots for the moon, carrying hopes of billions of Indians. Bahubali rocket LVM-3 rocket lifted off with Chandrayaan-3, aiming to land a rover on the moon's surface. The takeoff was picture perfect, every technical milestone achieved.
यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है.
And as Chandrayaan-3 separated from the rocket, scientists and space enthusiasts gathered to witness history and broke into applause.
We are excited, elated by the success of this because it was so much important for us to put it first in the orbit. Without that, there is no further travel to moon possible. So that way, it is really exciting for us.
The spacecraft will take about 2 weeks or more now to enter lunar orbit, aiming to be the first to land near little explored south pole of the moon. The journey is estimated to take more than 40 days, with the spacecraft potentially reaching the moon around August 23rd or 24th.
It was perfect, and all the propulsion stages worked very nicely, and the intended orbit also was achieved, and it was a perfect mission.
If ISRO pulls this mission off successfully, India will join an exclusive list of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the moon: US, former Soviet Union, and most recently China.
It's a moment of glory for India, also a moment of glory for you and I, all of us who have been part of the history in the making. And while Team ISRO has done the entire country proud, India has reaffirmed its leading role as a global player.
India's second lunar mission was launched in July 2019, but it was only partially successful. Even today, its orbiter continues to circle and study the moon. But the lander rover failed, crash landing during touchdown.
So the launch has been successful, and a billion Indians are left so very proud with our ISRO heroes. Chandrayaan-3, more proof of what ISRO can really achieve. As the country rejoiced, the world joined in also with applause for what India is attempting right now.
3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
It was a successful takeoff. Indian scientists were proud, so were their family members.
जैसे एक आम देशवासी अपनी शुभकामनाएं देता है और उम्मीद रखता है कि सफल हो मिशन, वैसे ही हम भी कर रहे हैं. हमारी शुभकामनाएं टीम को, इसरो टीम को, और मिशन सफल हो, यही उम्मीद करते हैं.
The community of Indian astro-scientists were lauded by Indians from all walks of life. Prime Minister Modi led the way, tweeting within seconds of the successful takeoff. Soon others followed, recording the success story of ISRO, reflecting the proud moment of carrying the dream, pride and belief of 1.4 billion Indians.
The first phase is over. I think the system got into its elliptical orbit. Now it's time for us to wait, of course, to congratulate each other, and then wait for the 43 days.
Chandrayaan-3 is a big milestone for India, and the world is watching.
What an amazing launch, and it's good to see LMP3 executing flawlessly to put the spacecraft on the target orbit precisely around Earth and heading towards the moon.
चंद्रयान 3 को प्रमोशन की कक्षा प्राप्त कर ली गई है।
Chandrayaan-3 satellite separated.
As Chandrayaan-3 orbits Earth before entering the moon's orbit, India prays for its August success, soon landing on Lunar's south pole.
The launch of Chandrayaan-3, the mission itself, is a significant and huge milestone for India's space program. We decoded our next report, how this mission works, what happens over the next 40 days, and what the objectives of this mission are.
Behind us is a model of the rocket GSLV Mk2, and the LV-M3 will resemble this model only. And on either side of this rocket, the columns you see, those are S200 solid state boosters, and in the center part where it is written GSLV, that is the liquid stage, and on top of it we will have the cryogenic engine C25. Over that particular pod with the Indian national flag, that is a heat shield which will be carrying Chandrayaan-3. This is a module which will have a propulsion module, a lander module, and the rover.
The launch vehicle will first orbit Earth before entering moon orbit. At the final lunar 100-kilometer circular polar orbit, the propulsion module carrying the launch module with the lander and rover will be launched through vehicle injection. Then the separation of the launch module from the propulsion module will take place. The propulsion module this time also has one scientific payload as a value addition. It will become operational post-separation of the lander module. The propulsion module, equipped with spectropolarimetry of habitable planet Earth or SHAPE, will then work for future discoveries of smaller planets in reflected light. It would also allow scientists to probe into a variety of exoplanets which would qualify for habitability or for presence of life. The lander module in the meantime will orbit closer to the lunar south pole.
The main aspect of this mission is to do a soft landing in the on the lunar surface, and this is the second attempt of ISRO. Here also ISRO has made it very clear that this time they are going for a failure-based model. They are calling this a failure-based model because whatever information that was gathered from Chandrayaan-2 has been incorporated to it. The issues with Chandrayaan-2 was called as error accumulation, which led to crash landing. It is not a failure. So all the lander module has to do is take a picture, compare it with the data that has been fed already into it, and it has only do final corrections to avoid any object that is 30 centimeters or bigger for a soft landing. ISRO claims that as all other parameters have been successful, it is only going for a soft landing, post which releasing the rover on the lunar's surface.
Soft landing of the lander happens when it lands intact on the lunar surface that prevents damage to the spacecraft. This will ensure survivability of instruments on board the spacecraft. This has so far been successfully achieved by only 3 other countries: USA, Russia and China.
And the very important aspect is that ISRO this time has given the lander a lot of space of deciding on its own, because the Chandrayaan-2 was designed to only land in an area 500 meters into 500 meters, but right now it has been extended to 4.5 kilometers to 2.5 kilometers. In that area, the lander can land. So all these parameters have been set. The main aspect of Chandrayaan-3 is for a soft landing on the moon's surface, because every other parameters ISRO has succeeded.
After successful landing at the South Pole, the lander will release the rover. During this mission, the rover will make qualitative and quantitative elemental analysis to derive the chemical composition, infer mineralogical composition of the South Pole lunar surface. This is critical for mineral and chemical finding as well as for future manned moon mission Gaganyaan of ISRO. Chandrayaan-3 is all set to ensure that this sky is not our limitation. The mystery of the universe awaits beyond this for exploration.
Mission Chandrayaan, the mission to explore the moon, was launched way back in 2008. You had Chandrayaan-1 back then, and then years later, Chandrayaan-2. Now, while Chandrayaan-2 was a partial success, a partial failure, we wouldn't deem it an all-out failure. 4 years later, Chandrayaan-3 has been brought in as a mission to correct the wrongs of Chandrayaan-2 to ensure that we can still plan a soft landing on the moon.
Chandrayaan-3 is going to be the world's first mission to soft land near the lunar south pole. It would take roughly 42 days for the lander and rover to reach the moon and attempt a soft landing. Last time in 2019, Chandrayaan-2 crash-landed on the lunar surface. It was a partial failure and it triggered a very innovative method adopted by the Indian Space Research Organization for the follow-up mission, Chandrayaan-3. Chandrayaan-3 is similar to Chandrayaan-2 and yet very different. Chandrayaan-3 lander and rover will attempt to land at the exact same spot attempted by its predecessor in September 2019. But unlike a combination of orbiter, lander and rover, Chandrayaan-3 will have only the lander and rover, but no orbiter. Instead, it will use the orbiter of Chandrayaan-2, which is still operational and has been sending valuable data from its 9 in situ instruments. The propulsion module of the Chandrayaan-3 mission will have just a single instrument named Spectropolarimetry of Habitable Planet Earth, which will analyze the spectrum of Earth to generate data for habitable planets. Another addition to the Chandrayaan-3 mission is the Laser Retroreflector Array, or LRA. It is being sent with the lander. LRA would be a passive experiment to understand the dynamics of the moon system. The other 3 payloads being launched with the mission are the same as that of the Vikram lander on Chandrayaan-2.
See, there is certain conditions in which it is supposed to work, and the conditions in which work has a window. If anything happens beyond the window, it may work, it may not work. So what we did this time is the window is expanded. Its ability to land at a higher speeds. Its ability to work within this much quantity of propellant is increased. We say this much is the power capability, we expanded. How about rover? Rover, we have not made any change this time. It is exactly the same rover.
To achieve its objectives, Chandrayaan-3 has lander hazard detection and avoidance cameras that will be used to coordinate with the orbiter and the mission control as the lander makes its descent approach to the surface of the moon. Chandrayaan-2 has just 1 such camera. Chandrayaan-3 has been fitted with 2 such cameras.
So we addressed all such failure modes, and we built more rigorous hardening of many systems, including its ability to land at a higher speed, more propellant to handle, more power generation capability, more disorientation capability, more ability to handle rotations, and we added additional sensors and sensor failures we addressed. So, and we did all these tests in simulation modes and made sure that all our thinking process algorithms do work under extreme conditions.
All previous spacecraft to have landed on the moon have landed in the equatorial region. Whether it's US or Russia, they all landed a few degrees latitude north or south of the lunar equator. The furthest that any spacecraft has gone from the equator was Surveyor 7, launched by NASA, which made a moon landing way back on January 10, 1968. This spacecraft landed near 40 degrees south latitude. A successful Chandrayaan-3 will not only elevate India into the elite group of lunar explorers as the 4th country to do so, but it would also mark India's expertise to do so at the most tough circumstances and in virgin lunar territory.
The Chandrayaan mission has been India's sole focus for the last 2 decades if you look at our space reform and our space journey. Now, in its 3rd avatar, let's rewind, go back in time and revisit the journey of Chandrayaan-1, Chandrayaan-2 and the journey of the Chandrayaan missions since 2008.
3, 2, 1.
The clock ticked, and at exactly 2:43 p.m. on 22nd July 2019, India took a giant leap to the moon. For the second time, Indian Space Research Organization created history by the successful launch of Chandrayaan-3.
L110 engine started. अभी अनाउंस किया गया कि L110 जो कि हमारा दूसरा मुख्य रॉकेट है उसका इग्निशन हो गया है, उसके दोनों इंजन प्रज्वलित हो गए हैं.
This was India's second mission to the moon after the successful voyage of Chandrayaan in 2008.
Ignition sequence normal and liftoff normal.
GSLV Mk3 blasted off to space carrying a Land Rover, orbiter and a lander with a speed of 11 kilometers per second from the Satish Dhawan Space Research Centre in Sriharikota.
It is the beginning of a historical journey of India towards moon and to land at a place near South Pole to carry out scientific experiments to explore unexplored.
Within minutes, Chandrayaan-2 was successfully placed into the Earth's orbit. As the space vehicle beamed back a perfect report card, Indian space scientists at Mission Control erupted with joy.
7.4 kilometers and the velocity was nearly 140. So the Vikram lander has successfully completed the rough braking phase.
The mission was expected to take 48 days in total to land its rover Pragyan on the south pole of the moon, roughly on 14th September 2019. But then, on 10th September, days before the final landing on moon, ISRO announced that it had lost contact with lander Vikram. ISRO scientists were disappointed. It was an emotional moment. Chandrayaan-2 suffered various delays and revisions a decade after the successful maiden Indian moon mission Chandrayaan-1. In October 2008, ISRO successfully launched Chandrayaan-1. On 22nd October 2008, Chandrayaan mission with a lunar orbiter and impactor was launched using PSLV XL from Satish Dhawan Space Centre at Sriharikota.
Ignition sequence normal and liftoff normal.
It was a big boost to Indian space exploration history. India researched and developed indigenous technology to explore the moon with Chandrayaan-1. 2 weeks after its launch, it was inserted into lunar orbit on 8th November 2008. On 14th November 2008, the Moon Impact Probe separated from the Chandrayaan orbiter and struck the South Pole in a controlled manner. India became the 4th country to place its flag insignia on the Moon, near the crater Shackleton. The location of impact was named Jawahar Point. Though Chandrayaan-1 was planned to survey the lunar surface for 2 years, but after a successful year of transmitting data and detecting presence of lunar water, it stopped communicating on 28 August 2009. 312 days of Chandrayaan-1 was a celebration of ISRO's hard work and indigenous technological advancement in space exploration. Nearly 7 years later, NASA with a ground-based radar system relocated Chandrayaan-1 in its lunar orbit. Today, its orbit varies between 150 and 270 kilometers in altitude every 2 years around the moon.
As we track the Chandrayaan-3 mission, who can forget what happened 4 years ago when an emotional ISRO director, K. Sivan, broke down after Chandrayaan-2 failed to make a soft landing on the moon. We caught up with the former ISRO chief on what he believes is going right with Chandrayaan-3. He explains in this exclusive conversation.
So once our lander goes there and once the research done by the rover, what are the benefits for India as well as ISRO as well as for the world of this particular achievement, sir?
See, one is by successfully soft landing there, by this process we have achieved, or India will be getting a technology of soft landing on a celestial body.
Yes, sir.
That is the one point on the technological part. Second part is now the lander and rover will carry out the in situ experiments on the moon's geology.
Okay.
And that too, this experiment is happening near South Pole wherein nobody else have gone.
Yes.
So something new science may come out of this one.
Research.
Some new research
findings.
And science will come out of that, like water quantity and other geological parameters. It will be known. So it will be a science experiment also beneficial. So both technologically one thing and scientifically another part.
That's all we have time for on this special broadcast. Thanks very much for tuning in. We'll continue tracking the trajectory, the journey of Chandrayaan-3. Till then, prayer on our lips, fingers crossed. Thanks very much for tuning in.